More people need to share their story, not in a victim way and not sharing for a point of healing, but for a point of literally empowering. The reality is just looking in the mirror and telling yourself the story that you want. I mean, and a lot of people tell the story that everybody else wants them to tell, right? So the marketing messages. So young girls right now, I'm fat, I'm ugly, my hair's not long enough, it's not blonde enough, it's not brunette enough, my hips are too big, they're not big enough, whatever it is, right? The story is being told from out here and then you're bringing it to you. What you have to do is tell the story you want. When you're a victim, you're in zero control. Like, you have zero control. And we can go, from the simplest thing of like, you're a victim and you want the government to take care of it. Well, what if the government fails? Well, now you're screwed, right? So you need to be independent in that space. You're being abused, you're a victim. Yes, I understand that there should be sympathy inside of being a victim for something that happened, but that's the key, something that happened. If it's happening, we're talking a completely different thing here, and I want to make sure that's clear. If you're currently being abused or you're currently being, victimized, then please seek help. And it's not being a victim to ask for help. What's really, to me, being a victim is you're past it. It's happened, and now you just keep replaying that in your head over and over and over again. I was the last time I was molested, I was about 6.5, 7 years old. I carried that, and again, I was physically abused after, but I'm talking sexual molestation. I carried that until I was about 16 years old inside of me and constantly told that story every day. Anytime something would go bad in my life, I would just look at people and be like, well, this is what happened to me, and da-da-da-da-da. And when I was 16, I stopped and I thought, that person hasn't touched me for 9, 10 years, yet they continually touch me every single day of my life. So who's really in control? Who really, even though I was like trying to be the big bad, like they'll never hurt me again, whatever, I was still allowing them to hurt me every single day. So I let go of that control. So being a victim is being completely powerless and taking away all control you might have, which ultimately doesn't make you feel safe, which ultimately doesn't give you happiness, which ultimately doesn't give you prosperity and, fill in the blank. And so what does being a victim get you? Nothing, absolutely nothing. So if you're getting nothing from one direction, why not turn around and go to the other direction? I mean, to me, it's really common sense, but you have to break down that, and you have to give people this understanding that it's okay to have had something happen to you. Like, you're not a bad person because of that. And it sounds crazy unless somebody's watching this who's gone through something. The guilt you feel and the things that you carry that you haven't told anyone because you're ashamed or all these things. That's okay. But continuing to allow it to affect you, that's on you. That's not on the abuser, that's not on the situation, that's on you. It's a choice you have to make of, I am no longer gonna let this happen. And so that's where I came up with this concept of put the victim to bed and wake the hero up instead. And the next part of that is you have to be a hero to yourself before you can save the world. And so you have to have that moment of, I am who I am, I'm comfortable in who that is, and I'm gonna go out and use who I am in the world in the best way possible. For example, troubled youth, right? I was told that, oh, you're a troubled youth, Wes, so we need to help you. And I'm like, no, I'm not a troubled youth. Like, I am a youth, right? So let's get rid of the word trouble. I'm a happy youth. I'm a playful youth. I'm a successful youth. Like, fill the word in there that you want. And if you believe the word trouble, then much like the stutter thing, then that's what you are, right? You're just perpetuating that stereotype or that conversation more and more. And whenever I did that, which I'd have my moments of weakness where I would try and then fail. And as soon as I'd start like just kind of, okay, body, just like everything, like frumpy and just like, all right, I'm just gonna give up. That's when my life became worse and worse and I started making worse decisions. And then I started realizing like, wait, if I just keep pushing over here, it's hard as hell. There's no easy answer to this. There's no like, okay, well, every morning at 6 o'clock, wake up and meditate for 10 minutes and tell yourself you're beautiful and then go, like, it doesn't work like that. It's a constant battle and you're gonna have moments of complete and total defeat where it's just like, what am I doing? Like, why do I keep trying to do this? And for me, again, it was just reminding myself of, I want these happy moments. I want to have this life. And so it started to perpetuate in little things that I would see, like a new friend at school or a relationship, or it'd start to like blossom into different things. And then with the business, it would be, oh wow, like I can go and sell and I can do, and as soon as I started like seeing just a little bit of progress, then that motivated me for the next and the next, and just build and build and build. And I'd still say I'm building, like I still have issues, but it's just focusing on that different conversation, telling a different story, and the story you want. And that's the first thing I tell youth is like, look, don't look at my story, don't look at someone else's story. What's the story you want? You may have had something happen, and I always say it's your 8th birthday. All you ever wanted was the Elmo doll, right? You told your grandma, your grandpa, your friends, everyone, mom, dad, all I want is an Elmo doll. Your birthday comes around, you get an Xbox, a mountain bike, and $500 in gift certificates, but no Elmo doll. Now, for 20 years, you're living your life, and every time you're in a relationship, you'll text, you'll do something, and they won't respond to you, or you ask for something, you don't get it. And every time you have this self-sabotaging thing in a relationship where you go to the person, you say, you never listen to me, you never hear what I'm saying. Even though that person's doing so many other things for you, when you're asking for certain things, it's not being reciprocated. You go all the way back to that 8th year, that barometer, that benchmark that was set, that all you wanted was an Elmo doll. Regardless of all the cool stuff you just got, you didn't get an Elmo doll. So thus, people weren't listening to you, your feelings aren't being validated and heard. And you're 28 years old figuring out why you can't have relationships. And the Elmo doll effect is actually a real case that I worked on of just kind of like breaking through and figuring out where was that set up where this person was just, self-sabotaging every single time, and it came out to be that they wanted something for their birthday when they were younger and they didn't get it, and they've been holding on to that. And even like admitted to themselves that every Christmas they're thinking like, yeah, finally I'll get it. At like 28, 29 years old, as soon as they release that, it's like they're not playing the victim anymore. So that may seem like really silly in all this other stuff we've been talking about, but to people who are watching this who haven't gone through something horrific, you may be holding on to something as simple as a stupid little Elmo doll that's affecting your belief system, your story, and giving you limits in your life instead of creating limitless.
And how do you teach people to go back and sort of get new perspective on the Elmo doll?
It's really, just quiet space, kind of putting yourself in a position of just really kind of going through and timelining your life. And I usually start with like, what's your first childhood memory? And then from there, you can kind of start architecting and building different story and figuring out like where things happened. But I think that most people, they know what's holding them back at some level, and they just don't want to be honest with it. And they'll do a lot to bury it, and the older you get, the more it gets buried. But I think if you really look back on your life, you can say, okay, that's it. And I just don't want to take ownership of that. And a lot of times it's, like I said, that shame, whether it happened to you or you did it, it's that shame of just let go of shame. Like, if anything, we've proven in this world, like we're a world of forgiveness. Like, we will forgive people who are honest and vulnerable and real, but you've got to be that first in order for us to, but you got to do that for yourself first. You got to forgive yourself. The simplicity of just knowing that you're not alone is really not simple. It's massive, because in those dark moments, you are alone. Like, for the most part, you are physically alone. And so then it's not that hard to take it from a physical to a mental state of, I'm the only one being molested. I'm the only one being beaten. I'm the only one with alcoholic parents. I'm the only one with a mom and dad who hate each other. I'm the only one that lives in a really wealthy community, but everyone's lying to each other. Like, it's really simple for that to happen. But the reality is you're not. And when you're not alone, you have community. What does community give you? Safety, right? It all comes back to like being safe. And if I feel safe, then I have power. And then I can do something and control and all these different elements. So, yes, it's huge, and it's a massive thing that we talk about, not being alone. But in my opinion, it comes down to self-worth and eliminating shame from these things, so we can have real conversations so that it just doesn't become something that people have to deal with alone. The Human Project is on a huge mission. Like, I know that. I know we can't do it alone. That's why we're enlisting the help that we're listing. Like, this isn't a simple problem to solve in the sense of the global aspect of it, but the solution is simple, and it just has to be understood, right? Like, I've been asked hundreds of times, why are you Wes, right? Why aren't you the stereotypical, like, you're abused, you went through this, your dad's an alcoholic, your mom's this, you're like, why aren't you in that pool? I made a choice. That's it. I made a choice. I made a choice that I didn't want to be that. There's nothing special about me. There's nothing miraculous about who I am. Like, the only miraculous cool thing is I don't have to eat or sleep sometimes. Like, that's it. I just made one choice when I was 16 years old, that I was no longer going to be a victim, and that I was going to be a hero to myself, and that I was going to change my life. And I had no idea that it would lead me here. And no idea I'd be here in this set, talking to you, doing what we're doing. No idea. It was never part of the plan. The only thing I knew is I didn't want to be the victim and this other trajectory of life. I wanted something different. So I made that choice, and now I'm here. So if you're listening to this and you're thinking you've made all these different choices and your life is in one direction, make one different choice. Just one, and see where it goes.